Big Blue Blitz with your host, Joe Mauceri.
Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, 2 epic Super Bowls. There is a link between the New England Patriots and the New York Giants, but right now the two teams couldn't seem further apart. Hello and welcome to the Big Blue Blitz. I am Joe Mauceri, and joining me each and every week here on the program, NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy, who joins us from Providence on his way to Foxborough tonight. Ryan, how's the weather up there?
It's cold, Joe, but the connections don't stop with the two Bills. Remember, Tommy DeVito's now trying to embarrass the Giants, blow out the Giants.
Yes, and Tommy DeVito revenge game.
And Drake May could have been a Giant like that. This is one of the more interesting games left on this schedule, not just because it's a good team, but because there's a lot of ties between these teams.
Oh, we will get to the connection with Dart versus Drake as Dart returns for the Giants after suffering that concussion. And let's start right there with the quarterback. How are the Giants going to be different now that Jaxson Dart is back under center, considering Jameis Winston, well, he brought the good vibes for a couple weeks?
Yeah, I don't know that Jaxson Dart will be catching 40-yard bombs down the field. But I don't know. Look, I think the most interesting thing, Joe, is how they're different, not from Jameis Winston, but how they're different from the Jaxson Dart 7 starts or whatever. And that is a reference to, do they still do as many designed runs with him? That's basically the key here. Is he's going to scramble sometimes, he's going to get sacked sometimes, but how often is he going to have a designed run where you're putting a guy who's now had, a bunch of concussion tests, only one concussion, but where you're setting him up to get leveled because he's still learning how to slide and when the right time is and when to give his body up. So do they take some of that decision-making out of his hands and cut down on his design runs? He had the most design runs in the NFL from week 4 to week 10 when he was the starter.
Okay, so, it takes two, right? The coach has to tell him, and then he has to go out there and actually do it. The video of John Gruden telling him that he has to get down before he was drafted by the Giants from his college runs has made its rounds again and gone viral. Mike Kafka has addressed it. But, I think Jaxson Dart sounded a little different as he was talking about what it felt like with his latest concussion. Here's what he had to say about that injury against the Bears.
Obviously, I just, wasn't feeling too great. I thought, honestly, our medical staff did a really good job because, I wasn't in a good space to be out there. And, obviously that game just sucked because, we had control. Quite honestly, I felt like they could not stop me. They couldn't stop us as a team. That one hurt for sure. And, you wish plays like that, wouldn't happen. And you can finish the game with your team.
All right, so here's why that sounds different to me. There is, I think, a connection for the first time from Jaxson Dart between him going out there, playing that style, not being on the field, and then his team losing because of it. And ultimately, I think the way he plays the way he does is because winning is paramount to him. So do you feel that Jaxson Dart has a different perspective now based on what you've heard there and what you've seen from him returning?
I think the way you phrased it was beautiful. Like, that's exactly what I think he thinks. I didn't even realize that's what I thought until I heard you say it. But yeah, I do think he sees that connection. Look, I also think part of it is who's in your ear about it, right? Like John Gruden said it to you in like a situation, the Gruden quarterback camp. That's a different situation. Brian Daboll, I was there the first preseason game in Buffalo where Jaxson Dart said, I think Brian Daboll likes it, that he dives head first. So Daboll was clearly, even if he was eventually telling him to slide, the first impression was Dart thought Daboll liked him being a maniac. So that's hard to do. I think what's different now is the teammates are in his ear. The teammates are the one, your peers are the ones telling you, bro, we need you. We're not going to be mad at you if you slide and give yourself up, and we have to convert a 4th down because you're in the game rather than you're not in the game and we have a 1st and 10. So I think that's really the difference is the teammates have really been pulling him aside. A guy like Raheem Nunez-Roches, a defensive tackle, went out of his way to pull Dart aside and say that to him. Not just the offense, the guys whose stats depend on it, but literally veterans on the other side of the ball are saying it to him. Jameis Winston, who he has a ton of respect for, had a big conversation with him about it, said what any one of us would say, like, dude, this is about your availability. And it feels like for a long time, media has been saying it and fans have been saying it and nobody in the building would say it. And Jameis Winston finally said it. And it was like, duh, that's common sense, but you needed to say it.
But, but I get it, though, because, again, you've played football your whole life and you play it a certain way. So that's what you're going to do because that's what you know. But the other thing about it is you're a rookie, right? And, like, what he and Cam Scadaboo have done going out there, like, basically showing I'm willing to, I'll stop short of saying die, but get hurt for this team, right? Because that's how much winning means to me. Have they gotten to the point just now where, all right, clearly – you've shown as a rookie that you care. This is important to you. So the veterans can go over there and say, hey, I got it. We get who you are as a person, as an athlete, as a competitor. And so now we can tell you to back off a little bit?
Yes, I think there's part of that. I think there's part of you have to prove yourself as a rookie to your older teammates. You have to prove it matters. I think you're right. They did that. They've done that. But I also think, again, I'll go back to what Jamie said. They're not the same. They're not the same. Like Cam Scadaboo's job as a running back is to run dudes over and fire people up. Jaxson Dart's, that's like his 8th most important responsibility. He can't treat himself like Cam Scadaboo. So I don't think they're the same in that regard. I think there is a version of the running back where it's like, yeah, man, you have to sacrifice yourself. That's the position you signed up for. Quarterback, it's like, hey, man, live to play another play.
Okay. You mentioned the connection between Drake May and the New York Giants. How close were the Giants to making a move to get him? Was it ever really in the cards? How much did they like him? And what's that going to mean going into tonight's game here?
They liked him a ton before his last season at North Carolina. He struggled at North Carolina. They still liked him a ton. He was well ahead of Drake May at some points, of Jaden Daniels at some points on their board early in the process. Then they fell in love with Jaden Daniels too. Was there ever? I mean, if it was up to them, they would have made the trade to get him. I mean, the Patriots were just not doing it. They were entertaining it in case they got some sort of Godfather 4 first-round picks kind of offer. But like anything that was close to value on the trade chart wasn't going to entice the Patriots. So Giants did everything they could to get Drake May. They loved him. Yes.
Do you think that plays a role for Dart tonight? Going into the game saying, I know the Giants wanted this guy, but you know what? They ended up with me, and I'm going to go show them that they got their right quarterback in the long run.
Yes, I'm going to say yes to that. We didn't ask him that, but I've been around him a little bit enough to know that he has some external motivations, some chips on his shoulder. He's very aware of narratives out there. Yes, that would not surprise me at all if he was the kind of guy who was like, yeah, let me show you. I mean, I asked a bunch of people this week, Shea Tierney, the quarterback coach, if there was similar parts of their game, what they liked about Drake May they saw in Jaxson Dart. And he said, yeah, there's some similarities. I'm sure he heard that answer. So yeah, I think Jaxson Dart's very aware of narratives and situations. And, I'm sure he's obviously still very close to Daboll. Daboll loved Drake May. I'm sure that Drake May name came up a couple times in their conversations, even if it's before Dart got here in the pre-draft. I'm sure Daboll was like, oh, that reminds me of something Drake May told me or whatever, just naturally. So I'm sure he's heard the name around the building a lot. So yeah, it would not surprise me at all if he was like, look, guys, you got one better.
All right. Well, Drake May is going to be going up against a defense that has a new coordinator in place. What's going to be the biggest difference for the Giants on that side of the ball now that Shane Bowen is gone?
I think there'll be a little bit more pre-snap disguise. So like, where's a blitz coming from, or like who's dropping into coverage? I think there'll be a little bit more of that, which I know is something fans have been clamoring for. Vance Joseph is Charlie Bullen's biggest mentor. He's very big into pre-snap disguise and creating confusion and sending and trying to create unblocked blitzers. I don't know that the Giants can do a lot personnel wise. I don't know that they can change a lot playbook wise, but I do think some fundamental things like how and when you're aggressive and how and when your blitz comes, I think that can change. But he's still dealing with the same guys with the same flaws. He's still dealing with the same playbook. He's not going to install a whole new scheme with 5 weeks left. They've got a lot of time invested in this. But I do think, like, in this exact situation, Bowen used to call A and I'll call B. I think that could happen.
Okay, but we heard a lot about the Giants drafting guys who fit Wink Martindale's system, right? And I think Deonte Banks comes to mind as like the poster child for that. Mm-hmm. It seems like this system is going to be more aggressive, a little more similar to what Wink did. And I know it's tough because we're in the middle of the season, so it's hard to make wholesale changes. But do you think that the personnel the Giants have will fit the style of play that Bullen wants to go out there and do more so than it did for Bowen?
If Bullen was starting over from scratch with 17 games, yes. I know everybody's looking for this, like, oh my God, look how different this defense is. I know that's what they're looking for. I just don't think
part of the reason is because when you see the head coach go out there and then he get to throw in some trick plays on offense, that you can see on offense, those things are more visible and obvious to the fans out there that maybe, we can see some things on defense. They're going to be running stunts and corner blitzes and, some robber zones out there.
I'm not expecting a ton of corner blitzes. But no, I do. Yes, I think in theory it fits more of an aggressive style defense. But like Shane Bowen played tons of man coverage and much more than he did last year. And like, that I don't know how much more man coverage you can play. Like maybe Charlie Bullen, because it's his room, finds ways to get Carter, Thibodeau, and Burns on the field together more. But Thibodeau has to come back from injury before that happens. Right. So maybe there's some things like that. But like, do I think he's going to suddenly make Deonte Banks a good player? No, I don't think that's going to happen no matter what scheme he calls.
All right. Well, it is an epic matchup that is shaping up. We know there have been some epic matchups between the Giants and the Pats in the past. This won't have any Lombardi trophies on the line, but maybe can have some significance the way the final game of the regular season did when the Pats were going for a perfect season. We're going to get into the keys to tonight's game. We're going to get into why New England might be a sign of good things to come for the Giants when the Big Blue Blitz returns. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Welcome back to Big Blue Blitz.
Well, it's a primetime matchup between the New York Giants and the New England Patriots up in Foxborough. Two teams linked by history, but going in very different directions right now. The Patriots looking possibly for the number 1 seed in the AFC, while the Giants could possibly be looking for the number 1 pick in the upcoming NFL draft. With us to discuss tonight's game and each and every week breaking down Big Blue, Ryan Dunleavy, NFL reporter for the New York Post. Ryan, Mike Kafka gets his first game as interim head coach with quarterback Jaxson Dart under center. Kafka, a quarterback himself during his playing career. What do you think he is looking forward to most about having Dart under center for this one?
I think the off-schedule playmaking. Like, I think, like, he knows he can call a play for Dart, and, like, if the first or second look isn't there, that he knows Dart can make something happen. So he'll keep them on schedule. He doesn't – with Jameis, when you're aggressive, you're always kind of living in that – is it going to be a big play? Is it going to be a turnover that kills us? Jameis obviously played a great game against the Lions. He could have had about 3 interceptions against the Packers that were dropped. So I do think there's a level with Dart of less risk, more reward.
You know, I've been really impressed by Kafka since he took over
Oh,
as
hi.
interim head coach, both from, the games, and I know it hasn't translated to wins yet, and the way he has handled the podium. I look at the way he responded to the criticism from the president of the United States for going for it on 4th down, and I thought he handled it beautifully. He's talking about mom and dad and Uncle Bob criticizing him and, Thanksgiving. I think he has definitely enhanced his profile around the league, and we've seen why he's been a candidate for so many head coaching positions. Do you think that Mike Kafka ends up with a head coaching position next season somewhere, whether it's with the Giants or not?
I don't know if it'll be next season because he's going to end up this season with a, 1-6 or whatever, 2-5 record. So that'll be hard to hire, especially if it's not the Giants. You're going to hire the guy that the terrible team had in the building for 4 years and they didn't hire, and then you're going to go hire him. That would be hard. But I do think, unlike Jeff Ulbrich, who when he was the interim head coach of the Jets, basically what happened there ruined his head coaching candidacy. Yeah. I don't think Kafka's hurt his. He's been on 8 head coach interviews, haven't gotten I guess what I'm trying to say is I think he's a future NFL head coach. I don't know if it'll be 2026, but I do think if he's not here, he'll be somebody's offensive coordinator and he'll be knocking on the door in 2027, in 2028. He'll get a chance eventually. I will say, I agree with you. I thought the clip, anybody who hasn't heard it should hear it. His answer on the president and the criticism and digging his heels in and the mentality he wants the Giants to have of we're going to go win the game. And that's something we're spreading around the entire organization, be aggressive. Thought that was a home run answer. It was like head coach 101 material. You're speaking to media, but you're really speaking to the fans and the players and the janitors and everybody in the mailroom, everybody working in the building. Thought that was awesome. I do think he flopped on the Malik Neighbors tweet, pretending he hadn't seen Malik Neighbors' criticism of him 4 days later was not the way to go.
Yeah, definitely just kind of tried to bypass that one there. Fair enough. All right, so if the Giants don't have Mike Kafka as their head coach next year, they're in a very similar situation to where the New England Patriots were just a year ago. So you look at the fact that they then go out and bring in Mike Vrabel. They had their quarterback. They believed in Drake May, and there were signs at the end of the season, even though it didn't necessarily translate into a lot of wins. How close are the New York Giants of this year to being the New England Patriots of next year?
Remember, Joe, it's not just the Patriots. They played the Bears a couple weeks ago, and the Bears were in a similar situation. They had their first-round quarterback. They didn't have the right coach. They kept their embattled GM. I actually think the Bears are a really good comparison, too, because, again, they kept their embattled GM. The Giants might keep Joe Shane. So I think both are very good comps, and you're looking at the 1 seed in the AFC and the 1 seed in the NFC. I don't think the Giants are that close. Now, again, you got to tell me who they hire. If they hire Mike Tomlin, then I'll tell you they're going to turn it around quickly because I believe in him and I've seen him do it. If they hire some young hotshot coordinator like a Ben Johnson, then I'll have to see it. I had no doubt the Patriots would be good with Mike Vrabel because I know what Mike Vrabel is. A lot depends on who they hire. A lot depends on what they do at the GM position. But I think the Giants have a talent heavy top of the roster, and the depth needs a lot of improvement. The depth in a lot of places needs a lot of improvement. Can you do that in the course of an offseason? Maybe, but I think that's probably more of a 2 or 3 year process.
Is there so you mentioned Mike Tomlin, right? And we'll say that he can be the comparison to Mike Vrabel because Vrabel had done it before, right? So that is that guy. Is there a guy that you have your eye on that could be next year's Ben Johnson?
Chris Shula. Yeah, I know he's a different side of the ball, but hat tip to Jay Glazer. He's the one who said this first, and I've asked around. Chris Shula is Sean McVay's right-hand man. Everybody thinks of McVay as an offense guy. So you see Shanahan, LaFleur, all those guys who've come, Liam Cohen, but he is just as tight with Liam Cohen, just as tight with Chris Shula. They go back decades. He lets him into all the head coach secrets, which is what Dan Campbell did with Aaron Glenn to prep him for being a head coach. So he knows how to run an organization. I think that's very important. And of course, he's got the Shula name, which is going to mean something to the Mara name.
Absolutely. All right, before we look ahead, we got to look at tonight's game, right? Let's pause next year for a second. Look at tonight's game here. I'm not saying, obviously, this isn't going to, if the Giants play them close, it's not going to send them on a playoff run where they then meet in the Super Bowl. But if the Giants play a good game tonight, are really competitive, and maybe even go out there and win, is this something that can carry over into next season, especially if the Patriots go on to have a deep playoff run and maybe even win it all themselves this year?
Well, if you turn into Gangrene Blitz, then you would know that we discussed something of this similarly. And I said, to a degree with the Jets, I don't think so at all with the Giants, because you're going to have a totally new coaching staff. You're going to have maybe a totally new GM. In either case, you're going to flip a good chunk of the roster. So, no, I don't think that this is a situation for the Giants where there'll be a carry. Like, it'd be nice for Jaxson Dart to experience some wins, but no, I don't think in any regard will this carry over to next year. Next year's going to feel like a totally fresh start.
All right, so win or lose, Giants fans, just enjoy a game in prime time tonight where you get to see your quarterback of the future in an atmosphere where the fans are going to be raucous because the games matter more than anything. And we'll put that on the ledger for Jaxson Dart as we go into primetime games looking ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jaxson Dart is the kind of guy who embraces prime time. He wants to play well in the spotlight. That's cool. Like Daniel Jones was every game is the same kind of guy, and that's a boring answer. Dart wants the lights on him, and he played great against the Eagles, so maybe you'll get that again.
All right, and against the Eagles, you told me the key to that game, or something at least that you were going to watch, was going to be the lines up front. What are you watching for keys to tonight's game?
Yeah, how aggressive the defense is. We hit on it. I mean, it's how different does the Giants defense look? And I actually would like to see them in the fourth quarter with a lead. I'd like to see that spot because I knew what was going to happen. I wrote this week, I called sports psychologists and said, how do the Giants handle the here we go again feeling? And one of the things they said was, you've got to make it happen. You got to feel like you can get it done once. Let's see what happens if Charlie Bolin and this Giants defense, if the results are the same, then I've been right the whole time. It's the Jimmies and the Joes. And if the results are different, then maybe it's the X's and the O's.
Oh, I love that. All right. That gives me something to watch for in the fourth quarter, assuming the Giants can find a way to have a lead in the fourth quarter. But they've done it against quality opponents throughout the season. So why not tonight against the New England Patriots? Before we go here on the Big Blue Blitz, I am going to give you the moment that you want for. This is Ryan Dunleavy's closing shot. Go ahead, Ryan. You have the floor.
I just saw the Pro Bowl fan voting came out, and I get it. Giants fans are dejected, right? That like their team is 2-10 again, but it's kind of on Giants fans here when I see the Pro Bowl vote and Andrew Thomas isn't in the top 10. He is the best left tackle. He is your most valuable player. Like, Giants fans need to take out their phones and their computers and vote for Andrew Thomas, because I have an all-pro vote this year, and you better believe he's under consideration for me for first team all-pro. Is he a lock? No, he's still got more games to go, but he's somebody I'm considering for first team all-pro. Giants fans should be. It's easier to be a Pro Bowler. Giants fans need to vote. There's a percentage, I don't know what it is, that counts towards actual guys who make it from the fan vote. Your fan vote doesn't matter. When I saw that Brian Burns is number 1 at outside linebacker, Okereke 4 at inside linebacker, Dart's 9 at quarterback, Dart is 9 at quarterback, and Andrew Thomas isn't anywhere to be found. You guys got to recognize your best player.
Go out there and vote. You don't even have to go anywhere. Pull out your phone and vote, people. Ryan Dunleavy, correcting the injustices of the world. This is why you got to make sure you read his work in the New York Post. Pleasure each and every week. Enjoy the game. Make sure you bundle up out there in Foxborough, Ryan.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, hot chocolates all around. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Big Blue Blitz, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Go out and vote for AT. The guy's got to be a Pro Bowler.